Number 1. The Lloyd Alexander doesn't feel like a product of design ambition. It feels like a response to reality, a quiet, fragile answer to a loud, broken world. Built by Lloyd Motorenwerke in the shadow of post-war scarcity, the Alexander wasn't shaped by what engineers wanted to build. It was shaped by what they could build. And that difference, you can feel it in every inch of the car. Steel, the backbone of most automobiles, was limited, so the Alexander became something unusual, something almost improvised. A wooden frame, carefully assembled, covered in synthetic panels that mimicked the look of metal without ever truly becoming it. From a distance, it appears complete, even charming in its simplicity. Rounded edges, compact proportions, a friendly, almost naive expression. But the closer you get, the more the illusion softens. There's a certain lightness to it, not just physical, but visual. The panels don't carry the same authority as steel. They don't reflect the world sharply. They absorb it, almost reluctantly. Tap on the body, and instead of the solid reassurance you expect, there's a hollow response. A reminder that this isn't a car built for permanence. It's a car built for necessity. And necessity doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for just enough. Opening the door feels like interacting with something delicate, not fragile in a dramatic sense, but careful, like you instinctively know that this machine requires respect simply to exist. Inside, the minimalism continues. Thin seats, basic controls, a dashboard that doesn't try to impress, it simply functions. There's no excess here, no comfort beyond what's absolutely required, no attempt to distract you from the truth. And when you start the engine, that truth becomes undeniable. The sound is modest, not weak, but restrained, like the car understands its limits and has no intention of pretending otherwise. As it begins to move, every sensation is immediate. The road doesn't get filtered, it gets delivered directly. Vibrations, textures, imperfections, they all pass through the structure as if there's nothing in between, because in many ways, there isn't. Driving the Alexander isn't about confidence, it's about awareness. You become hyper-conscious of everything, the surface beneath you, the sounds around you, the subtle flexing of the body as it reacts to motion. It's not alarming, but it's always there, that quiet sense that the car is working hard, maybe harder than it should. One former owner captured that feeling with unsettling honesty. It felt like the car was always one step away from falling apart. And what makes that statement powerful isn't fear, it's familiarity. Because that's exactly how it behaves, not as something that might suddenly fail, but as something that exists in a constant state of near failure, always holding together, always continuing, always just enough. And yet, it keeps going. That's the part that stays with you. Because despite its fragile construction, despite its improvised materials, despite the constant suggestion that it wasn't meant to endure, it fulfilled its purpose. It carried people. It moved through streets. It became part of daily life in a time when even the simplest mobility mattered. It didn't need to be strong. It just needed to work. And for a while, it did. But time is not kind to things built on compromise. Wood ages, synthetic materials weaken, structures that once held together through necessity begin to separate through time. The Lloyd Alexander didn't collapse dramatically. It didn't fail in a way that demanded attention. It simply wore out, quietly, naturally, almost as if it understood that it was never meant to stay forever. And so, unlike the bold machines that disappeared because they were too ambitious, too strange, or too extreme, the Lloyd Alexander disappeared because it was too temporary. It didn't need history to erase it. It did that on its own. And as you step away from it, there's a shift in the atmosphere. The lightness disappears, the fragility fades. Something heavier begins to take its place, not just physically, but emotionally. You feel it before you fully see it, a presence, a density, a kind of weight that the Alexander could never carry. Then the shape emerges.
low. So low it feels anchored to the ground, like it refuses to lift, refuses to let go of the road beneath it. Wide, not modestly wide, but deliberately, aggressively wide, stretching across space in a way that feels intentional, almost territorial. This isn't a car that fits into the world, it claims part of it. And then the details sharpen. Hard lines replace soft curves, sharp edges replace gentle forms. Where the Alexander felt like it might bend under pressure, this machine looks like it was designed to apply pressure. Every angle is calculated, every surface reflects strength, not compromise. There's no uncertainty here, no hesitation, no quiet humility. This is a car built in a different era, a different mindset, not shaped by scarcity, but by confidence, maybe even excess. The materials feel solid, the stance feels deliberate. The entire machine radiates a kind of controlled aggression, like it's always ready, always waiting. Where the Lloyd whispered survival, this one speaks in dominance. Low, wide, aggressive. And whatever comes next, it doesn't intend to struggle, it intends to win.
Number 2. The Bizzarrini 5300 GT doesn't ease into your world, it invades it. Low, stretched, and impossibly purposeful, it looks like motion even when standing still. Built by Bizzarrini, a name tied to racing, to rebellion, to engineers who refuse to follow comfortable rules, the 5300 GT wasn't created to impress casual drivers. It was built for those who understood what a car could become when comfort was stripped away and control was pushed to its limit. And the moment you see it, you know. This isn't a car that will forgive you. The body sits incredibly low, hugging the ground with an almost unnatural closeness. The long nose stretches forward like a weapon, while the cabin feels pushed back, compressed, secondary to the purpose of speed. There's no softness in its design, no compromise. Every line exists for a reason: airflow, balance, aggression. This is a machine shaped by racing, not by roads. And when you step inside, that philosophy becomes unavoidable. The interior doesn't welcome you, it confronts you. The seating position is awkward, almost uncomfortable at first. Your legs extend further than expected. The pedals don't feel forgiving. The steering wheel isn't there for ease, it's there for precision. Everything about the cockpit tells you one thing: you are not in control yet. You have to earn it. Under the hood, American muscle meets Italian engineering. A brutal V8 engine, loud and unapologetic, delivering power in a way that feels raw, immediate, almost violent. There's no smoothing, no filtering. When you press the throttle, the response isn't gentle. It's direct, mechanical, honest in a way that modern cars rarely are. And that honesty is what makes it dangerous. Because the Bizzarrini doesn't hide its limits, it exposes yours. One driver once described the experience in a way that stayed with everyone who heard it. It didn't want to be driven slowly, and it punished you if you tried to push it. That contradiction defines the car. Drive it gently, and it feels restless, almost irritated, like a caged animal forced to move too slowly. Push it harder, and suddenly it comes alive. But with that life comes risk. The balance is delicate. The margin for error is thin. It demands focus, skill, and respect every second you're behind the wheel. There's no safety net here, no forgiveness, only consequences. Owners often spoke about it with a mixture of admiration and caution. One said, "It's the kind of car that teaches you something every time you drive it, usually the hard way." Another admitted, "You don't relax in it, you survive it." And yet, for those who understood it, who respected its nature, the reward was something almost unmatched, a connection to the road so direct, so unfiltered, that it felt like the car and driver became a single system, thinking, reacting, moving as one. But that kind of experience isn't for everyone. In fact, it's for almost no one.
because most drivers don't want to fight their car. They don't want to constantly negotiate with it, to earn every mile through effort and concentration. They want comfort, predictability, ease. The Bizzarrini offers none of that. So, despite its brilliance, its racing DNA, its undeniable presence, it faded. Not because it failed, but because it refused to adapt. It stayed extreme in a world that was slowly becoming more forgiving, and extremes rarely survive unchanged. So it slipped into obscurity, not forgotten, but misunderstood, appreciated only by a small group of people who saw past its difficulty and into its purpose. And as that raw, aggressive energy fades, something else appears. At first, it feels almost wrong. After something so precise, so intentional, so brutally focused, this next machine feels uncertain, not aggressive, not elegant, not even particularly fast, just awkward. The proportions don't quite make sense. The shape feels hesitant, like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. It's neither bold nor subtle, neither refined nor raw. It exists somewhere in between, in a space that feels unresolved. Where the Bizzarrini demanded control, this one seems unsure of itself. And that uncertainty is what makes it so strange.
Number 3. The Austin Allegro doesn't confront you. It lingers. Built by British Leyland during one of the most uncertain periods in British automotive history, the Allegro wasn't meant to be revolutionary. It wasn't supposed to shock, provoke, or redefine anything. It had a much simpler mission: replace the aging models before it, modernize the lineup, and quietly become part of everyday life. It was meant to fit in. And somehow, that's exactly where things went wrong. At first glance, it seems harmless. A compact family car with rounded edges, soft lines, and a shape that tries, almost desperately, to appear friendly. But the longer you look, the more something begins to feel unsettled. The proportions don't quite resolve in your mind. The front feels slightly too high, the body slightly too swollen, the stance just a little too narrow for its height. It's not ugly in an obvious way. It's uncomfortable in a subtle one, like a sentence that's grammatically correct but still doesn't sound right. And that feeling never quite goes away. You walk around it expecting to find the angle where it suddenly makes sense, but it never fully does. Every perspective offers a new question. Why does the roofline sit like that? Why do the panels feel slightly inflated? Why does it look both modern and outdated at the same time? It's a car caught between ideas, and it never fully commits to any of them. Then you open the door and things become even stranger, not dramatically, not aggressively, just quietly, persistently odd. Inside, the design continues this theme of almost right decisions. The layout is logical, the materials are acceptable, everything is where it should be. And yet, there's a disconnect. The textures feel slightly off. The seating position isn't uncomfortable, but it isn't natural either. And then in early models, there's that detail, the square steering wheel. Not a bold square, not a radical reinterpretation, just a shape that feels unnecessary. You place your hands on it, and for a moment, your brain hesitates. It's functional, it turns, it works, but it doesn't feel right. It never quite disappears into instinct the way a normal wheel does. You're always aware of it, always adjusting, always slightly out of sync. And that perfectly sums up the Allegro experience. Driving it doesn't bring clarity, it deepens the mystery. The engine responds, but not with enthusiasm. The suspension, technically advanced for its time, tries to smooth out the road, but ends up creating a sensation that feels disconnected rather than refined. The steering works, but doesn't communicate. The car moves, but doesn't engage. Nothing fails, nothing excels. Everything exists in a strange middle ground.
Owners didn't complain loudly about it. There were no dramatic breakdowns of character, no explosive flaws that turned it into a cautionary tale. Instead, there was something far quieter and far more damaging: indifference. One owner captured it with almost unsettling accuracy. It wasn't terrible, it just never felt right. And that's the kind of statement that quietly erases a car from history. Because people remember extremes, they remember brilliance, they remember disaster, but they rarely remember something that simply didn't connect. The Allegro became that kind of machine. It lived its life in the background, doing what it was supposed to do, carrying families, navigating streets, existing without drama. But it never created a bond, never built a story, never gave people a reason to look back at it with anything more than mild recognition. And over time, that absence of emotion became its defining feature. It didn't fade because it failed, it faded because it was forgettable. And that's a different kind of disappearance, a quieter one, a slower one, the kind where a car doesn't vanish overnight, but gradually slips out of memory, leaving behind only a vague sense that it once existed. So you move on, deeper into the hangar, away from uncertainty, toward something else. At first, it's just a reflection, a line of light stretching across a surface too smooth, too deliberate to belong to something ordinary. Then the shape begins to form, emerging slowly from shadow. Long, low, but not aggressive, not like the machines you've seen before. This is different. There's a flow to it, a continuity. Every curve connects to the next with a kind of quiet logic that the Allegro never found. The body stretches gracefully like it was shaped by air rather than drawn by hand. There are no awkward transitions, no uncertain edges. Everything belongs. And yet, it doesn't demand attention. It doesn't shout for recognition. It simply exists, confident, composed, almost calm. Elegant, but not celebrated. Refined, but not remembered the way it should be. There's a sense that this car was overlooked, not because it failed, but because the world was looking somewhere else when it arrived. And that quiet injustice makes it even more compelling. Because sometimes the most interesting machines aren't the loudest ones. They're the ones that waited patiently and were never truly seen.
Number 4. The Alfa Romeo Montreal doesn't demand your attention. It earns it slowly, almost quietly, the way a well-composed piece of music reveals itself over time. Built by Alfa Romeo during an era when the automotive world was beginning to split into clear identities, brutal supercars on one side, practical grand tourers on the other, the Montreal stood in a space that felt less defined. Not because it lacked direction, but because it refused to exaggerate itself just to fit a category. And that's the first thing you notice: restraint. From a distance, the shape is undeniably striking, but not in a way that overwhelms you. It doesn't rely on excess. It doesn't stretch itself into drama. Instead, it holds a kind of controlled tension. The lines are sharp, but never aggressive. The proportions are low and purposeful, but not intimidating. The front end, with its partially concealed headlights hidden behind slatted covers, feels almost alive, like the car is watching you as much as you're observing it. There's intelligence in its design, a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't try to prove anything, because it doesn't need to. Walk around it, and that balance becomes more apparent. Every surface transitions naturally into the next. There are no awkward interruptions, no unresolved ideas. Where so many cars of its era tried to shock or impress, the Montreal simply exists, complete, composed, resolved. And then you open the door. Inside, the experience shifts, not dramatically, but meaningfully. The cabin isn't extravagant. It doesn't overwhelm you with luxury or complexity. Instead, it feels focused. Everything is positioned with intent. The gauges are clear. The seating position is deliberate. It doesn't try to isolate you from the car. It connects you to it. You don't step into comfort. You step into purpose. And when the engine starts, that purpose becomes unmistakable. The V8 doesn't roar immediately. It builds. There's a mechanical sharpness to it, a tone that feels different from the smoother, more refined engines of Grand Tours. This isn't just power, it's heritage, a racing influence that hasn't been diluted for the sake of comfort. Press the throttle, and the response is clean, precise, almost surgical. The car doesn't surge forward recklessly, it accelerates with intention. There's control in the power delivery, a sense that everything is working together rather than competing for attention. And that's where the Montreal reveals its true character. It's not trying to dominate the road, it's trying to communicate with it. The steering feels alive, constantly feeding information back to you. The chassis responds with clarity, not drama. Every movement feels measured, deliberate. It's a car that rewards understanding rather than aggression. But that very balance becomes its greatest challenge. Because the world rarely celebrates balance. It celebrates extremes. Too often, cars are remembered for how loudly they shout, how fast they go, how wild they behave, how dramatically they break the rules. The Montreal does none of those things. It doesn't shout, it doesn't exaggerate, it doesn't demand, it offers. And that difference is subtle, but crucial. Because many people didn't quite know what to do with it. It wasn't practical enough to be used every day without compromise. The interior, while focused, lacked the ease and comfort expected of a true Grand Tourer. The visibility, the quirks, the maintenance, it all required a level of commitment that casual drivers weren't willing to give. But at the same time, it wasn't extreme enough to be considered exotic in the way the era's icons were. It didn't have the raw unpredictability of more aggressive machines. It didn't push boundaries far enough to become a legend in the eyes of those chasing adrenaline. So it existed in between. Not misunderstood, just unclaimed. One admirer once said something that perfectly captured its quiet tragedy. It deserved more attention than it ever got. And that's the kind of statement that lingers. Because it's not criticism, it's recognition arriving too late. Owners often spoke about the car with a kind of personal attachment that bordered on protectiveness, not pride in the traditional sense, but something quieter, a feeling that they had discovered something overlooked, something that didn't belong to the mainstream. One driver once admitted, "It's not a car you buy to impress people. It's a car you keep because it makes sense to you." And maybe that's why it faded the way it did. Not with failure, not with disappointment, but with silence. The world moved on, chasing louder, faster, more obvious machines. The Montreal remained where it was, balanced, composed, quietly confident, waiting for recognition that never fully arrived. And eventually, it slipped away. Not gone, but no longer seen. And as that quiet elegance dissolves into memory, something else begins to shape Taya. At first, it feels unfamiliar in a way that's hard to explain. After something so resolved, so carefully balanced, this next machine feels unsettled. Not chaotic in an exciting way, but uncertain in a way that makes you pause. The lines don't flow, they hesitate. The proportions don't resolve, they stretch, then stop, then change direction again. It doesn't look like a finished idea. It looks like a question, like a designer pushed past comfort and kept going. Where the Montreal was harmony, this is experimentation. Where the Montreal was complete, this feels incomplete. And that's what makes it so compelling, because this next machine doesn't feel like it belongs anywhere. It feels like it escaped somewhere.
Number 5. The Hino Contessa doesn't fail loudly. It fades quietly. Built by Hino Motors during a time when Japan was beginning to look outward, toward Europe, toward global recognition, toward a future beyond its own borders, the Contessa was more than just a small car. It was an attempt, a statement, a step into a larger world. And at first glance, it almost convinces you. The proportions feel familiar, intentionally so. There's a European influence in the lines, a certain elegance in the way the body curves and settles. It doesn't feel purely domestic. It feels translated, like a car that studied others before becoming itself. The rear-mounted engine adds another layer to its identity, a layout associated with efficiency, with clever packaging, with cars that maximize space while minimizing complexity. It suggests thoughtfulness, engineering intention, a desire to compete not just in appearance, but in function. But something about it never fully connects. You walk around it, expecting that moment, the one where everything clicks into place, where the design, the purpose, the presence all align. And it almost happens. But not quite. The lines are clean, but not memorable. The stance is balanced, but not distinctive. The engineering is clever, but not groundbreaking. Everything about the Contessa feels like it's reaching towards something, just slightly out of reach. And that almost becomes its identity. Inside, the experience continues in the same quiet tone, functional, ordered, sensible. Nothing confusing, nothing dramatic, but nothing that stays with you either. It's a car that makes sense immediately and then slowly slips from your attention just as quickly. Driving it reinforces that feeling. It moves with competence. The rear engine hums along, delivering power in a way that feels smooth, predictable, controlled. The handling is stable, the ride acceptable, the experience complete, but not compelling. It doesn't ask anything from you, and it doesn't give anything back that lingers. One former owner said something that captured its quiet struggle. It tried to be international, but stayed local. And that's exactly what happened. Because in trying to appeal to a broader world, the Contessa softened its identity. It borrowed ideas, adopted influences, shaped itself into something that could be understood everywhere. But in doing so, it lost the sharp edges that might have made it unforgettable somewhere. Outside its home market, it didn't fail. It simply disappeared. Not rejected, not criticized, just overlooked. Because the global stage is unforgiving for cars that don't stand out. It demands clarity, confidence, a reason to be remembered. And the Contessa, for all its effort, never quite found that reason. So history moved forward. Louder cars arrived, bolder designs took attention, more extreme ideas captured imagination. And the Contessa slipped into the background, becoming a quiet footnote in a much louder story. But as the light fades around it, as the memory of its careful, almost success dissolves, the shadows deepen, and something else begins to emerge. At first, it doesn't feel like a car, not completely. The shape is unfamiliar, low, yes, but not in a way that suggests speed. The surfaces are smooth, almost too smooth, like they've been simplified beyond comfort. There's a futuristic quality to it, but not the kind that inspires excitement. This feels different, unsettling. The lines don't just flow, they drift. The proportions don't feel engineered, they feel imagined. It's as if the car wasn't designed for the road as it exists, but for a version of it that never quite arrived. There's no aggression here, no confidence. Just a quiet, uneasy presence, like something from the future that isn't sure it belongs in the present. And that's what makes it so strange. Because this next machine doesn't feel like progress. It feels like a possibility that went too far and came back changed.
Number 6. The NSU Prinz doesn't demand drama, it demands engagement. Built by NSU Motorenwerke at a time when the automotive world was still experimenting with small, efficient, and unconventional designs, the Prinz was modest in appearance but ambitious in intent. Compact and practical on the outside, clever and daring underneath, it was designed to stretch the concept of what a microcar could offer. With an air-cooled engine tucked into its tiny frame, a nimble chassis, and a personality that became apparent only when you spent time with it, the Prinz was almost like a machine in disguise. Small, friendly, approachable, but with secrets that only revealed themselves to those willing to learn. And that's exactly where its story begins and ends. The Prinz wasn't for the casual driver. It demanded attention, awareness, and an unusual level of patience. The engine, clever though it was, required careful handling. The transmission needed a rhythm you either learned or struggled with. Every drive was an exercise in mindfulness, an ongoing conversation between car and driver. One driver summed it up perfectly. You had to understand it, or it wouldn't work with you. Most people weren't willing to enter that conversation. They wanted a car that obeyed, something reliable, something invisible in its predictability. They didn't want to think about the way the engine breathed or how the rear-mounted layout affected handling. They didn't want to engage with the Prinz as an equal participant in motion, and so, quietly, it disappeared. It didn't fail with catastrophe. It didn't make headlines for unreliability. It simply faded, respected by a few, unnoticed by the many. In the grand story of automotive history, it became the subtle footnote, the small machine with clever engineering that few bothered to truly understand. And yet, the Prinz leaves a lingering impression for those who did. The sense of intelligence, of design that speaks softly but clearly, persists long after the car is gone. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, it didn't scream for attention. It asked only to be appreciated for what it was, a machine with personality, with quirks, with purpose. And then, from that quiet corner of automotive history, the tone shifts. You look up, and across the hangar, something entirely different emerges. Something heavier, low, wide, assertive. A machine that doesn't ask for patience. It doesn't hint. It doesn't wait for understanding. It declares itself immediately, loudly, unmistakably. The boldness is almost overwhelming. Every surface, every curve, every ridge is exaggerated, not out of necessity, not out of practicality, but out of intent. The car claims space the way some people claim attention, without apology, without negotiation. It isn't designed for subtlety. It isn't designed to coexist quietly with the world. The stance alone is confrontational. Wide-set wheels, aggressive arches, low-slung body, all designed to tell anyone looking that this car will not be ignored. The cabin is positioned back, cockpit-like, implying speed, precision, and a need for mastery. The front end gapes with intakes and vents, hinting at the ferocity within. This isn't a car built for compromise. It's built for dominance. And then the details hit. Every design element reinforces intent. The fenders flare in anticipation of velocity. The hood slopes not for style, but to accommodate power that could overwhelm anything beneath it. Even the smallest lines, grooves, vents, ridges, signal aggression. There is no hesitation here. There is no modesty. There is no second guessing. Where the Prinz required understanding, patience, and a subtle connection to succeed, this car requires submission. You can't negotiate with it. You can't charm it. You can only experience it fully or step aside. It's intoxicating, terrifying, and irresistible all at once. It makes the tiny Prinz seem like a whisper in comparison, gentle, fragile, polite. This car shouts. It commands, it dominates. It takes the space it wants and refuses to let it go. And that intensity, that audacity is almost too much to take in at first. Low, wide, heavy, bold. Too bold. Yet every exaggerated line, every aggressive proportion, every confrontational angle has a rhythm, a purpose, a coherence. It doesn't shout merely to be seen. It shouts because it must, because it exists to be experienced fully, without compromise, without distraction. Where the NSU Prinz was subtle, clever, quiet, this is monumental, raw, and unyielding. and as you step closer, feeling the presence it exudes, you realize that the hangar has changed. The light has shifted, the shadows have deepened. You are no longer among machines that politely ask for attention. You are among a machine that demands it. Almost too bold. And yet, you can't look away.
Number 7. The car at the very end of the hangar does not announce itself in the way the Iso Grifo did, or the NSU Prinz, or even the bold, aggressive machines that preceded them. It is not low, not wide, not sculpted to demand attention or admiration. It doesn't try to seduce, to charm, or to assert dominance. In fact, at first glance, it seems almost embarrassed to be here. But as you take a step closer, that initial impression begins to crumble, replaced by a strange fascination that is hard to shake. This is a car that exists in defiance of everything you've learned to expect about automotive design. Its proportions are wrong, and yet somehow balanced in a way that challenges your understanding of symmetry. The body is neither sleek nor aggressive. It is somewhere between a miniature science experiment and a fantastical drawing brought to life. Angles collide with curves, and curves bend in directions that feel improbable. The cabin is tiny, almost toy-like, yet functional enough that a human could theoretically sit inside and drive. Wheels are oddly sized, too small or too large, and yet they carry the machine with a confidence that feels impossible. It is unsettling. Not in a menacing way, but in the way that forces you to reconsider the very definition of a car. Everything you thought you knew about proportion, balance, and purpose is challenged. Where the Montreal embodied subtle elegance, the Prinz demanded understanding. The Iso Grifo represented unfulfilled ambition. This machine simply ignores the rules. It doesn't care for practicality, for aesthetics, for attention. It is an idea in metal and rubber, given form, alive in a way that defies logic. You run your hands along its surfaces, expecting smooth continuity, symmetry, or at least some recognizable logic, and yet the body resists. The panels shift, the angles turn unexpectedly, the roofline floats, seemingly unsupported. The cockpit is offset, placed where it shouldn't be, yet it somehow feels purposeful. There is no compromise here, only experimentation taken to extremes. Every inch of this car seems to ask a question of you. What is a car? What does it need to be? What is allowed to exist? Inside, the experience is no less perplexing. The controls are minimalistic, yet eccentric. Buttons, levers, and dials sit where intuition might not place them. Seating is unorthodox, the view outside framed strangely, almost awkwardly. And yet, for all its impracticality, there is a coherence, a hidden logic only apparent once you commit to observing closely. This car does not perform by conventional standards. It is not fast, not powerful, not comfortable, not elegant, and yet it achieves something far stranger. It makes you see a machine as pure possibility. It's the kind of car that might have been dismissed as a failed experiment or a design folly if judged solely on practicality or market viability. But in the quiet of this hangar, surrounded by the history of cars that aimed for brilliance or notoriety, it reveals its truth. It exists exactly as it should, unbound by convention, unbothered by expectation. You realize that this is the final lesson in your journey through automotive history. The vehicles you've seen before, the elegant yet overlooked Montreal, the precise yet demanding Prinz, the Iso Grifo, brilliant but mistimed, this machine simply ignores the rules. It doesn't care for practicality, for aesthetics, for attention. It is an idea in metal and wheels, given form, alive in a way that defies logic. It doesn't ask for love. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't conform to logic, to proportion, to expectation. It simply exists, a paradox in metal and wheels. And in its existence, it reminds you that sometimes the most compelling, the most unforgettable machines are not the ones that succeed, or even the ones that are remembered. Sometimes the true marvels are the ones that never belonged anywhere in the first place. Machines that slip between the cracks of design and reality, daring you to recognize them, to understand them, to marvel at their audacity. And as you stand there absorbing its impossible form, you know that this is the car that will linger in your mind far longer than any of the others. It doesn't just occupy space in the hangar. It occupies a space in thought, in imagination, in the quiet corner of understanding where logic and madness meet. It shouldn't exist. And yet, it does. It is, perhaps, the purest story of all.
Number 8. The Amilcar Compound does not arrive in a way that demands attention. It does not roar into memory or parade itself with flamboyance. It arrives almost shyly, tucked into a quiet corner of history, a small French machine with ideas far beyond its years. Built by Amilcar in the late 1930s, it was intended to redefine what a compact car could be, and in many ways, it did. At a glance, the Compound appears modest, even unremarkable. The bodywork is smooth, the lines familiar for the era, soft and rounded with the elegance expected of a European car of its class. But look closer, and the brilliance reveals itself, not in showy styling, but in mechanical innovation. Front-wheel drive, independent suspension, clever weight distribution, thoughtful packaging. Every element reflects an engineer who refused to accept that tradition was the only way. The problem is that the world was not ready. Buyers of the 1930s were accustomed to predictability, rear-wheel drive, solid axles, familiar proportions. The Compound offered none of these certainties. Instead, it moved differently, it steered differently, it responded with subtleties that were unfamiliar, sometimes startling, to drivers trained to expect compliance. One contemporary observer summed it up perfectly. "It's clever, but I don't trust it." And that mistrust was enough to prevent it from finding a wider audience. The experience of driving a Compound is instructive. The front-wheel drive layout gives the car a sense of balance and precision that was revolutionary at the time. The independent suspension allows it to glide over surfaces in a way that seems almost magical, making small bumps vanish and road imperfections feel muted. Yet these very innovations, so normal to a modern driver, were unsettling in the late 1930s. The car required attention, patience, and an intuitive understanding that few were willing to invest. It demanded a dialogue between machine and human, a relationship based on comprehension, respect, and timing. Fail to meet it halfway, and the car feels strange, unpredictable, even alien. And the market rejected it. Not violently, not with scandal, not because of catastrophic failure. It was rejected quietly, almost politely, with a shrug and a return to what was familiar. The Compound was clever, but cleverness alone does not win hearts. Its genius was invisible to most, hidden beneath a modest frame and a body that seemed ordinary until you began to explore its secrets. It didn't disappear because it was flawed, it disappeared because it was ahead of its time. Its lessons were invisible in the moment, only to be rediscovered decades later by those who could recognize the innovation it represented. It was a machine that anticipated the future while the world remained chained to the past. And as you step back and leave the Compound in its quiet corner, you see the pattern emerge in the hangar. So many machines here share a common story: brilliance, audacity, or ambition not matched by the timing of their arrival. Some failed because of mistakes, some because of luck, and some because the world simply wasn't ready to see what they were offering. The Compound belongs to the rarest of these categories, the visionary that history overlooked. The shadows lengthen around it, stretching across the polished floors, carrying the whisper of lost potential. There is a silence here, thick and contemplative, broken only by the faint reflection of light across its modest yet impossibly clever body. It is the kind of silence that invites reflection, an acknowledgement that genius often arrives before understanding, and that understanding often comes too late. And then, beyond the corner where the compound rests, something new emerges in the dim light of the hangar. Not clever, not elegant, not balanced, something that does not conform to expectation or tradition. Its silhouette is unsettling. Its proportions seem unsure whether they wish to be sharp or curved. Its surfaces defy logic. It is a machine born not of compromise, but of daring imagination. A car that challenges everything you think you know about what a vehicle should be. Where the compound was ahead of its time, this new machine exists outside of time entirely. It doesn't seek approval, understanding, or trust. It is not clever. It is something else, something alien, something impossible. And as you step closer, you realize that this final car does not belong in the hangar, the history books, or even in the conventional timeline of automotive design. It is a question made tangible, a contradiction that moves under its own strange logic. It is the kind of machine that makes you pause, makes you reconsider the very definition of a car, and forces you to confront the fact that sometimes the most fascinating vehicles are not the ones that succeed, the ones that are remembered, or the ones that dominate the road. Sometimes the most unforgettable machines are the ones that shouldn't exist. And yet, here it is.